Look, detectives combing through the hood looking for a corpse. Draco hitting, I don't think your body can endure the force. I whipped the fish up with a fucking hanger or a fork. Told that bitch, go ahead, sniff what you want, there's plenty more to snort. I had an outstanding warrant for a short. Turned myself in, rocking Louis and all my jewelry, I wore the court.
Ladies and gentlemen, special guest with us tonight, former SOCOM Marine, Joe Malone. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Nick. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm excited to get this going. I noticed you on Instagram. It was actually one of those like ads that pushes you towards people that you kind of have like-minded goals with or things that you talk about. But I love what you're doing, man. The first thing that I noticed was kind of like the home security stuff, which is big on my end. I love that stuff. I kind of nerd out with it. But other than that, you're a lethality coach, and that's kind of like a vague, broad term. So if you could just kind of talk to us about it.
Absolutely. So 13 years in the Marines, most of that time was spent over at MARSOC. And then in 2019, I got kicked out, whatever happens. And I kind of just had a really rough transition trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then, 2020 hits and I realized people are just incapable of defending themselves. And then on top of that, I started to realize a lot of people had the same problems I had in terms of like mindset and habits and skill sets. And so as I began to what I call realign my actual self with my true self, the best version of me, I started to apply those fundamentals and life really just started to turn around. And so that's where the Lethality University really came from is it's not just about being capable of great violence in order to preserve great peace, but it's really about the lifestyle. Bushido and
Oh, yeah.
Ikigai is how you pronounce it over in Japan, where it's like your mindset affects your behaviors, which affects your habits, and then your skill set on top of that creates the all-encompassing human being, somebody who's living a life of great purpose, and that's really where it all comes from.
Okay. So I do have a lot of active duty guys, and I have a lot of veterans that watch my show. And honestly, man, that's not to harp on something that was like a hard time for you, because I don't get me wrong, I don't like talking about my shit either. But I have a lot of guys that got kicked out too, man. I have a lot of guys that got in trouble with NJPs, and you know, if you could talk a little bit about that time, because it's not an easy thing to go through. And I do have people that watch my show that have gone through that. So I mean, if you could kind of, if you don't want to talk about what happened, that's fine. But how you got through it and got to where you are today, that's a big thing for a lot of guys. Because I mean,
Yeah,
I
man.
watched something that you said earlier, dude. Not to interrupt you, but we do tend to have a victim mindset with things, and
Oh man.
we don't want to blame anyone but ourselves. And to get to that point where you realize, hey, shit, a lot of the things that I'm doing are causing some of the things that I'm dealing with in life. I mean, yeah, if you could.
And I don't mind talking about it at all. I talk about it all the time because it's so important. Um, I got in some dumbass trouble. I was in sniper school, and when I got back from my sixth deployment, I like worked my way up the team. I was like an element member, then an assistant element leader, and then I got promoted to like element leader. And I just I just started from and I bootstrapped all the way up through the teams and these deployments, combat deployments. And I had a choice to go to the MARSOC sniper school, which is like tier one level stuff, or I could have gone to basic Marine Corps sniper school. And I always wanted to go to basic Marine Corps sniper school. It was just something that I always wanted, the number one course that I always wanted to get to. And finally, I had the opportunity. So I went out to California and, these guys, whatever, we had some misunderstandings, legitimate, and I got poison oak. My balls were like literally the size of Florida
It's the
oranges. And
worst. Been there.
dude, literally every inch of my body, from the tip of my scalp to my knees, in my ass, everywhere
No
was
good.
just, my eyes had 6 flaps. My buddy told me I should go to the hospital. And I was just like, I'm not getting dropped from this course. We're in the last
Damn.
phase. So I ended up like failing this ruck run because like my nuts literally were the size of oranges and I couldn't breathe. And but whatever, I was still gonna try to persevere. And then like
Jeez.
there was understanding on an assignment. And then I got promoted in sniper school to staff sergeant, and I didn't have an official promotion ceremony. And so in the midst of like this, spotlight on me, the first sergeant was like, "Who promoted you?" And I lied. I said, some guy over at First Raider Battalion. And of course, he had to go like investigate it. Long story short, I ended up getting kicked out of sniper school, 4 days left, and I got sent back to the East Coast. And what happens in MARSOC is people rotate so quickly that a few months had gone by, nobody knew who I was in the command anymore because everybody had already rotated out and through. And so they just fried me, man. They hung me out to dry. They fried me, and it was really kind of like disheartening that the guys I even served with, a few of them stood up in my NJP and were doing work behind the scenes, trying to be like, "Yo, Malone's a good dude. Like, why are you guys, frying him?" There's obviously more to the story. Nobody ever asked me what happened, and I just like was alone at that point, and I lost my.
If I could, not to interrupt you, this is a big thing for me because something very similar happened to me.
Yeah.
And that resonates in a lot with me because the thing that I don't understand the most is how can you hang out to dry guys that are just putting pain in for you? We're going all out, giving 100% of ourselves to the brand, and just a little speed bump, something like that. You're gonna hang out to dry and crucify someone that's. I just never understood that about the Corps, man. And maybe it has something to do with leadership guys at the top being resentful to young guns coming up, if you will. I don't know. I've seen it countless times, and I just never understood that about the Marines. Not to harp on something that sucked, but I feel your pain, and something like that I've just never understood, man. And I see it
Yeah.
thousands of times.
I think it has to do with a lot of fear, people's careers and tenure, and then they
course.
get scared and shit, and then they just start like wanting to disassociate from you, and so it was just so crazy to me that it was like just blown so far out of proportion. Like I lost staff sergeant as a
Oh my
rank.
God.
They actually busted me down to corporal, but they like suspended. And I had all these letters from the kids in sniper school saying I was like mentoring them and working with them after hours and
Didn't
teaching them.
matter.
I was just like doing everything I could. I loved that job. And I just couldn't understand like what the fuck was going on. And I lost my team, I lost my element. And I was like, that's when like, I started like drinking heavy and all this stuff and like
Of course. Well, dude,
crazy
if
shit.
anyone, dude, if anyone has an excuse or something like that, how does something that weighs so heavy on your heart like that, how do you get through something like that, man? Because a lot of guys are dealing with something very similar to that. They get smacked down, they hit rock bottom, and then they start, thinking about all the things maybe they could have done differently, and then they sink
Right.
in that mindset. How do you persevere through that?
Well, I mean, I didn't for a long time. I still had like 2 years left in the military at that point. And, I was fortunate enough to get finagled over to a company that was deploying kind of like an intel billet. And I was able to get one last deployment out of everything. And what's really crazy is like, so I deployed back to over to Iraq. This time as like an intel billet.
What
And
year?
then
Just to give me
this
a
is
time frame.
2017. So we were
Okay.
like, we're in Mosul
Yep.
already. So my
Yep.
deployment before that, we set up the conditions for it. Then, this was like 2 rotations later. I was already back out there. And then we had a plane crash and it was my element.
Oh,
So the guy who replaced me on the team,
come on.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was like harder than anything. That was just like crazy. And then what was even crazier about all this stuff is because everybody like disassociated with me. And I had started dating a widow from another guy just by freak chance coincidence. It wasn't like I schemed it or anything. I didn't even know her.
Gotcha.
But even so now like people like ostracize me even more. But like when I couldn't go home to like the funerals, this was literally like the
Oof.
element that I put together. The guy replaced me and I knew him. I knew Billy for a while. And they wouldn't let me go home. And basically,
Wait, were you in country when that happened?
I was in country for like 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Okay. Fuck.
And then the vibe I got from back at home was everybody in the company was like, fuck you. Like, don't bother coming back. Like this wasn't even your team anymore. And I was just like, all right.
Damn.
So
That's tough.
like a lot of prescription meds at that point.
Of
And
course.
started to realize some stuff wasn't like adding up with me. Like, and you know, when the EOD tech tells you should go get seen by a doctor, yeah, you should probably go get seen by a fucking doctor. That's what happened is had a EOD tech I was working with. He was like, dude, you should go get seen. So it turns out you had some concussions, some TBI stuff. And I'll never forget Doc Johnson. He sits down and he's like, you suffered from all these different things. And I was like, dude, what? Why are you reading my medical record back to me? I'm not impressed that you could read. And he looks at me and he goes, I haven't even looked at your medical record. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, all I did was look at your brain scans. And that's when I started to learn about how the brain functions and how we function as human beings and how we are literally an artifact, a collection of pathways in the brain and neural connections literally create who you are as a human being. And as I was leaving the military, I was doing a bunch of drinking and popping pills and high risk stock options trading, lost all my money. I was freaking the fuck out, depressed, and was living on Onslow Beach, Camp Lejeune, out of a tent. Nobody knew this at the command because they didn't give a fuck about me. And I was ready to just like kill myself. Like, every
Yeah.
day I had in my mouth for fucking just.
Yep.
One night I was going to pull the trigger. I just passed out drunk, woke up to a buddy waking me up with the gun like in my mouth and fingers still on the trigger.
Damn.
And, I'm very glad I didn't do that, but it was just like crazy chaos. And so I was like, dude, this is fucked up. This is not me. Like, I've got two choices. Either I make like really drastic change and I know a little bit about the brain and how the brain functions now, or, I just like die and I might as well like go back to Iraq as just like a me and go fight with the Pesh or
Crash
something.
dummy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I started to learn about like quantum physics a little bit more and the brain and neurology. And I just started to like apply some of these things. And then I started listening to dudes like Ed Millett and Earl Nightingale and like Tony Robbins. And
Yep.
I used to think that stuff was like, hokey, but it's not. It's like real legit shit. It's people who've gone through a lot. And I started to apply the fundamentals into my life. And then I gained traction. I built some momentum. And then eventually I was able to, things just start falling into place when you're in alignment with yourself. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was applying what's known as universal laws, where when your thoughts are pure, your actions are pure. And when your actions are pure, your world existing around you is the direct reflection of the actions and the thoughts that you have. And as I began to build that momentum, things began to fall more and more into place. And I was able to finally pull myself out. Yeah.
I'm happy that you did, man. That's awesome stuff. I've never really dived into that stuff, but it's always kind of like been in the back of my head. And maybe I'm in a similar position to you. I for a while I felt like that was like kind of like hokey, as you put it, but I've never really aligned my life to it. I've never really like fully like dived into something like that. So I can't pick at it, but
it's
just seeing how it's affected you, man. That's awesome. That's great stuff.
Dude, I mean, I went from literally wanting to blow my fucking brains out on Onslow Beach, living out of a tent with negative 60 grand in my name, $0 of income coming in, lost everything that I had ever earned in my life, my reputation, my fucking character, my name. And now I'm literally sitting in a fucking 5-star hotel in Bogota, Colombia. I just got done trekking through the fucking rainforest with the Kofan ancient Amazonian tribes.
Damn.
And I'm loving life, dude. I got a beautiful family, the most amazing fucking wife, the most amazing kids. So it's like, if I could do it, anybody could do it. And there's so much truth to this stuff that all you got to do is just apply the fundamentals. Again, this is what the Lethality University is all about. Apply these fundamentals, build the momentum, start it off simple, make it happen. And then things just really start falling into place. And then you get held accountable with the group, with the team, with myself. And dude, it's awesome, dude. Life just starts working out. It's really awesome to see people's lives start to flourish.
I'm sure. Now, when you say apply fundamentals, are you just talking about basic, living life from the bottom, fundamentals, starting from the bottom and taking out negativity out of your life and applying basic, take care of yourself, work out, eat right, taking care of a car, basically putting the right oil in, putting the right stuff in and making sure that the pieces stay together?
Yeah, to some degree or another. It's a little bit more specific than that. So everything is energy in this universe. Everything is energy. Everything operates in the law of vibration. And so that's you, that's me, that's the table, these computers, these radio frequencies, all this shit operates within these universal laws, these scientific principles. And so we naturally have a negative default as human beings because our brain, our physical brain has two main priorities: conserve energy, don't get hurt or killed. That's it. And so operating in that subconscious level where information goes first, we don't have the ability to consciously choose, I don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to feel negative. So how do we begin to take ourselves out of that negative state of consciousness, or subconsciousness, I should say? It always starts with the physical exercise, the body. You must move the body, because when you move the body and you increase oxygenation, you increase perfusion, that little oxygen molecule goes to every single cell in your body, trillions of cells. And what happens is it goes into the mitochondria and creates ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and that creates energy within the human condition. That's where our warmth comes from, our energy comes from. And the more that you can create at a more rapid pace, then the higher of a vibrational frequency you are known within like Kirlian photography and stuff to be operating on. The higher vibrational frequency you're operating on, the more positive of a mindset that you're in. And not just the mindset, but biochemically, physiologically, you're creating endorphins and serotonin and oxytocin and shit, things that are associated with like love and kindness and connectedness and purpose and drive. And so you literally pull yourself out of this negative pit of bullshit. You can't think your way out of the problem, because your mind is the one that's already created it. The only way that you can create greater clarity is through that physical exercise. And on top of that, you have nutrition. People don't know about macronutrients. You always think about the food pyramids and shit, but it's fat, it's protein, fats, and carbs. That's what it is. I got fat and all flabby last year. I was like still kind of like, smoking a bunch of weed and stuff. And then I like learned about nutrition from a dude who was in prison for like 10 years. The guy did like fucking 16 months of solitary confinement, never left the cell once. Like, that's a dude you want to fucking learn some shit from. That's like a dude who's going to teach you some stuff. And so like, that's when everything really started to fall into place, when it was like, man, I've been missing the physical piece, the nutrition piece. And then you're building momentum every day of your life. Why? You get a good wake up time, you hit it, you win. That's positive momentum. You get the exercise in, you hit it, you win. More positive momentum. You frigging got the diet down right, you hit it, you win. It's just you're building all these wins. You're stacking these wins every single day throughout your day. It's not like you're in combat. Like, you're not focusing on like the fact that you could die or like all this other shit. You're focusing on the process. What do I need to do now? Cover, concealment, observe, identify, engage, cover, concealment, shoot, move, communicate. You're focusing on these minuscule processes, which ultimately contribute to like the greater picture. And that's what this is all about, is building that momentum in a positive frame, positive context. And before you know it, dude, like years gone by. And I mean, I think money is a great way to keep score of things. And I'm about to make, within this first 2 months of this year, more money than I made in all of 2022 within 1 month. And it's just like, it's not like I'm some like multi-billionaire or nothing, but that's not the point. The point is that it's like, I'm a guy who came from like some seriously like down in the dumps, as negative as it gets, fucked up as it. We're not even talking about all the handfuls of Molly I was popping, the acid I was taking, my motorcycle I'm crashing onto the fucking train tracks, waking up underneath bridges and shit, hanging out with hookers, literally just so I could like have company, so I could fucking not feel completely alone. Crazy shit. Like really crazy, fucked up stuff, things that just are completely out of character for me. But like, if I can go from that to this so quickly, anybody could do it.
To be real with you, man, honestly, like, I've been dealing with PTSD and TBI like pretty significantly since I got out of the Marine. And I don't come from a military background. I don't have anyone in my family that was in the military. And I'm not really someone that believes heavily in, before this, keep in mind, on mental health or anything like that. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I didn't really put much credence or reverence behind like PTSD or anything like that. I thought I could just tough it out. Or maybe like just bury it deep down and I'll deal with it when I'm 50, 60. And it kind of creeped up on me. And now I'm kind of like trying to put the pieces back together after going through like a bunch of bullshit. And that's honestly why your page caught my eye, because I can see that you're just putting out positivity and you're just kind of like laying the roadmap a little bit. And honestly, it definitely caught my eye. So basically what you're saying right now is kind of like little form of guerrilla warfare to achieve wins inside your body. Basically just attack it, get a small win and keep going after it. And I know that when you get like little wins, it raises your confidence a little. And when your confidence gets raised, you can do a lot. And that definitely I can feel you.
It's everything, man. And you're so right. I've never really thought about that way. And I love guerrilla warfare. I'm obsessed with it. Like that, especially my time like in MARSOC. When I learned, I was like, UW, I was like, this shit's fucking guerrilla warfare, badass, right?
Yep.
But like, that's really what it is like, the conventional force wins when it like decimates the enemy, like war of attrition, but the guerrilla wins when they never quit.
Yep.
And that's like life. You never fucking quit. You never give up on yourself, your family, your people. And this is what drives me so nuts about like veterans is like, I believe that there is like a political elite group of people. It probably isn't what most people out there like think it is, but for the other half of you, it probably is what you think it is. It's the tenured politicians, 40 plus fucking years. Get the fuck out of here. Like trust fund kids whose families go
Drives
back
me
to
nuts.
hundreds and stuff. World Economic Forum. These people literally want veterans to kill themselves, to be stupid, to be on the fucking VA and to be drugged up and shit. What are we doing here, bro? Like, we're sitting here wondering where the country's going to shit. It's because the men and women who fucking took an oath to protect it against enemies, both foreign and domestic, we do 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, and we just floff out like, dude, fuck you. Quit the bullshit fucking mentality. Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. You can make a huge fucking difference in this world, in the greatest nation that has ever existed in the history of fucking mankind. Don't sit there and cry that you're not getting your fucking VA check yet or your GI Bill benefits didn't fucking kick in. You're capable of so much fucking more. And it drives me crazy. I get so many fucking messages from this morning. I got like 10 fucking messages from veterans crying about all sorts of bullshit. And I got sick and tired of listening to it. And I'm a dude that is full of love. My heart is fucking open. I just fast 72 hours in the fucking Amazon and drink ayahuasca with a fucking shaman in the middle of the Amazon. And you know what I fucking came to in a conclusion thereof was that my fucking heart is wide the fuck open. And some people will say, oh, you speak very violently or aggressively to people. And it's not that I'm violent or angry or aggressive. It's that I'm just passionate. I know exactly what people are capable of. And it's insane to me that we don't fully apply ourselves. Why don't we fully apply ourselves? Lots of reasons why. But what's even crazier is that it's like, brother, here's my hand, sister. Fucking take it, because I could fucking lead you to the promised land. I guarantee you I could fucking take you there. But you got to grab my hand. I can't just fucking pull you out and through this shit, unless we're in person.
I think it's because like we all got like pushed towards the VA. A lot of us got pushed towards the VA when we were like, finding out that PTSD was real or that we were all going through some shit when we got back from the sandbox. And if you've ever been to the VA, man, it's just I don't even know the right adjective to put on it, but it puts you down a kind of a path of negativity when you just think that everything can be cured by whatever meds they give you. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
And what's crazy is it's like, I love the Vietnam dudes, mad respect. They fucking changed the VA night and day. And the VA does do like a lot of good things. Are you out of Boston? Is that where you're at?
Yep.
So I've never been up there, but like I've been to like a lot of other VAs because my traveling all over the country and stuff. But like, man, these like 1970s, 1980s, I saw a dude with a Cold War veteran hat on it. How entitled you are.
Yeah.
And that's like the energy that is there. I was talking to a dude yesterday, he works for the VA. He's like, I'm depressed as fuck because I'm working at the VA. I was like, yeah, I don't doubt it. The energy, the atmosphere is like garbage. But like, there's a lot going on here, and especially in the last few years, and like, with like concussions and stuff, I learned so much. I used to think like getting shot in the helmet. I know dudes been shot in the head, stepped on IEDs, vehicle rollovers. Those dudes got TBIs. I never really realized all the micro concussive effects of like firing 30 Gustavs in like, 2 hours and shit like that. But like, it's a real thing. And like, post-traumatic stress, like, yeah, like when you experience something like dude literally cranking himself off and blowing himself into bits, it's like, or like you see like a squad of Peshmerga lined up on a building ready to make entry, and then they all disintegrate. Even though it's like not your best friend who's like, blood is all over you, it's still pretty fucking nuts. And like, so there's like a lot to say about all this stuff. But at the same time, like we're just getting pushed out. The transition process is all bullshit. And, it's like some check in the box for some congressmen. And
that's all it is.
Yeah, there's just so many more things that we could be doing, especially as veterans, guys and girls who are capable of being trained, smart, intelligent, physically capable. Dude, this country should be fucking thriving off the veteran community. But instead, the veteran community is like, oh man.
That I never understood. Why can't, is it just the big dick complex thing that we can't all like work cohesively? Because no one in the veteran community really lines to get anything accomplished. It's always, when you see us in the comments, oh yeah, he didn't do that. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? It's super toxic. And I never understood that about the veteran community, because it just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you want your brother, even though maybe he hasn't done as much as you, why wouldn't you want him to succeed? You know what I mean? Like, I never got that.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with like the conditioning of the military, like it's something that the military is just, I wrote this paper, The Fallacy of the Brotherhood when I got
Okay.
out, because obviously I was like distraught as fuck.
Of course.
And, everybody thinks the military and brotherhood, and yeah, like exists, but not on the level that it should.
No,
And
it
when you
doesn't.
look at like conditioning of a human being, you make it through boot camp, right? What's the first thing people tell you when you graduate boot camp? Like, what unit were you with when you first got out of boot camp?
2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines.
2, 3, fucking nice, dude. And then were you with weapons platoon at all or headquarters at all?
I went through both of them actually.
What years were you in? Just wondering really quick.
2008 to 2013.
A guy named Luke Foser.
The last name sounds familiar. I'm
It's too
terrible with
bad.
names. I'm better with faces, bro.
We'll talk offline. Yeah. But anyways, what was the first thing they said to you when you showed up there? Was it like, hey man, you're a badass. Welcome to
No,
the unit? No,
no,
it's you're a
no,
fucking piece of shit.
not anywhere near it.
Like you get hazed, why? So why do we do that? It's because, oh, we need to fucking gut check people. That's the dumbest fucking shit. If you really want to gut check people, when you look back, you probably had like me, you probably had nothing but horrible military leaders and like one or two really great.
Of course.
And it's like, how were you ever humbled in the military? Was it being called a piece of shit, hands in your pockets? No, it was when
Hands in your
somebody
pockets.
put you in and like educated you and like guided you and like
You
mentored
learned something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. I see your strengths. I see your weaknesses. Let's fucking get you up to par, dude, because we're going into some real shit. And that's like such a minuscule part of the military
I agree.
lifestyle. But if we conditioned each other to be like the SEALs, I love the SEAL culture. And I used to get like made fun of all the time for it. Cause even in MARSOC, it's like you eat your own. You show up, new guy on the team with all this training, you're a piece of shit. It's like, dude, I got like a bunch of deployments. Like, I'm not a piece of shit. I want to be here. But the SEALs are like, you're fucking badass. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of like gut checking, but like SEAls are always
They
building each other.
uprise you a little. They give you a little bit of self-confidence. Yeah, yeah.
And what does it do, man? Dude, 2 SEAls fucking sounds like they're dead now, which is really fucking sad off the
I know.
coast.
I heard that.
The one dude fell off the bridge. The other dude fucking jumped
I
in
know.
after. Like,
Savage.
I got chills. That's the most gangster fucking
Yeah, I know it is. That is savage shit.
We don't do that in the majority of the
No.
military. Again, that's such a minuscule piece. And so I think that conditioning like falls out of the military. And like, then you look at people who like weren't in like, combat heavy units. And of course, there's like a lot of ego involved and stuff like that. When
Of
it's
course.
why, dude? Look at Afghanistan and Iraq. That was really fucking worth it.
So stupid. Oh my God. I agree with you completely.
So
It's funny you say that, dude, because I brought up the other day, and maybe this is stupid, maybe it's not, but I think there's something behind what do you learn from getting your shit reamed out and getting screamed at and ridiculed? You don't bring anything in. All you do is feel shame, you feel bad.
second
Nothing,
guess yourself.
nothing positive happens from it at all. And
Yeah.
if you look at it, the Marine Corps is almost solely based, or at least probably when we were in, maybe it's changed a little bit, but they absolutely rip you apart and destroy you through just verbal assaulting. And
Every day.
and it's nonstop. And
Yeah.
exactly what you said, I had like 2 or 3 leaders that like took me aside, was like, listen, fuck all that. This is what you're doing wrong. This is how to fix it. Apply this here, change this a little bit. And all of a sudden I'm killing it. You know what I mean? Like little thing. I really feel like if they adjusted fire a little bit in the way they taught certain things or instituted certain things, you would see 1,000% uprise and just people giving their best with various aspects of life or various aspects of whatever they do in the Marines.
Yeah. But that's a part of the biggest problem with the military complex is that it's run by a bunch of fucking idiots most of the time. People who are like their salt, they get out. And then people who like backstab and snake and like are scared to get out
They go
because
up. Exactly.
they're incapable of like they look good on paper.
Yeah.
And so they get promoted through the ranks. And so what happens is 90% of the people who go through their time in the military and then get out of the military, whether it's 4 years or whatever years, that's like what they think leadership is. And so that's like what they think being a leader is supposed to be, like a man or a woman is supposed to be. And they take that with them out into the private sector, which is why a lot of veterans talk to a dude from the Marines. He's working at McDonald's. He was a comms dude, I think. And he's working at McDonald's. I was like, why are you working at McDonald's? He's like, well, I don't know. I have a discipline or a complex problem with bosses, authority problem. I was like, you have a fucking mindset problem, bro. you're working at McDonald's for 15 an hour and you were a fucking Marine for like 4 years. Like, what the fuck is up with you? But it all comes back to this, right? Like, you know, that's what we're taught at such critical ages and such critical environments. You're 18, you leave home and you're in this like strange place with these strange people. And you're like Marine, and this is like what leadership is. And so I think that that's what really gets brought out into the private sector with a lot of people, which ultimately leads to purposelessness, VA, drugs, drinking. And then when you get in that purposelessness cycle, man, that's when that victim mindset mentality really starts to kick in. Fuck the world, nobody cares about me. And then people kill themselves all the time.
Cam, you just broke that down perfectly, actually. I really do think that is exactly what happens. That's wild.
I lived it, bro. I know for a fact is what it happens because I literally fucking lived it. And I'll never forget the thing when I was like, remember when I woke up that morning with my buddy and I was just like, oh, so fucking mad because I was like, dude, this is exactly what the Taliban and ISIS and and Shabab and Saif and these fucking political pundit fucks want me to do. They're celebrating every time a veteran kills themselves. And, you know, America's falling further and further and further from its traditional morals and values, which is truly fucking greatness, because we keep killing ourselves, because we don't have purpose, because we're confused. And when we get out, we basically just like have this sense of entitlement. We spiral out of control so quickly.
That's honestly what's going on, man. And honestly, the VA isn't equipped to, or they probably don't even want to help veterans at the end of the day because they haven't been. So maybe it's the wrong people in the wrong positions. I don't know, but I mean, I've gone through every part of the VA, and at the end of it, it really just seemed like they were taking in data. They weren't actually giving me anything to be proactive about.
So I don't even go to the VA anymore. I haven't used the VA since I got out. They fucked up like 4 of my appointments, gave me the wrong meds. Like, you know, I was just like, this is crazy. But you know, it's the VA's complex. Like, there's a lot of things wrong with it, but there's like a lot of things. There's like a lot of good people in there, but there's a lot of.
I know there is.
But there's also a lot of people, I think even more people who, like you're saying, where it's like, it's almost like the contractors, like that you see on base. Like they did their 20, they retired, their buddy gave them a fucking job at the G4, and they just like keep saying fucking shit. Dude, I'll forget. I went down to Tampa. I was doing some contracting for a company out of Israel for intelligence, and I had to go down to SOCOM headquarters in Tampa. And I had been at some of these training sites, of course, in my time in. And I remember it'd been like 3, 4, 5 years. And it was literally the same fucking posters were on the wall.
No.
Like, cubicles were exactly the same. And the same fucking people were there. The only thing that had changed was they got older and fatter.
I bet.
And it was like, no wonder.
That must have been crazy to see, actually. Not really.
It was just like, no wonder things suck so much and so hard to get anything done. It's because you have these antiquated. You're doing the same thing in the VA, right? Like, you got these people who don't care. They're just like getting their check, 9 to 5, holidays off. And, you know, so it's a complex system. Yeah, there's a lot that could definitely go right with it, but it's a bureaucratic machine. It's a government machine. And that's why I don't trust it. I don't want to work with it. And I want to encourage other people to do their own thing because you can, you know, and this is something a lot of vets don't know about. One, starting a business. Dude, vets make the greatest entrepreneurs. There's 44 million millionaires in America, and like most of them are veterans, but you don't hear about that stuff. And when it comes to starting a business, dude, I lost so much money like starting my company because like I didn't understand marketing. I didn't understand web development. I didn't understand, you know, printing shit and, you know, legal processes and hiring lawyers is like a waste of money most of the time. You know, it's all these little things. I didn't know about SEP 401ks and, you know, like, you know, retirement plans that I could set up for myself. I didn't even know I could do that. And all these little things that veterans don't know that we don't get introduced to during the TAPS and TAMS process.
I was going to say they need to bring that in SEPs and TAPS. Yes.
No, it's like a 4-day resume writing course from some like 20-year-old fucking, you know, dude who, you know, retired and got hooked up with his buddies like old job. It does nothing, you know, and there's just so much potential for veterans, but they're just never exposed to it. And that's why I really have started, you know, that's why I created that ad to begin with. Like, I'm trying to like learn about like marketing and using like, you know, online platform and, you know, generating leads. Right. And I was like, man, veterans need to like get with this shit because like there's so much more potential than we actually give ourselves credit for. And we don't have to be victims to this like, you know, system and this mentality. Like, it's so easy to become a millionaire in this day and age, but nobody teaches you how. There's no veterans transition course. I'm like, it's like, if you make 6 figures, it's like, bro, you made it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, bro. 40% of that goes to like taxes anyways. Like, let's set up a retirement plan, get you started entrepreneurial, journey, drop shipping, online management, marketing, like, skills, recruitment, training, like all this stuff people could be doing, but we just never get taught how to do it. And so like pulling people into Lethality University, like on top of giving them more badass skills and training, because I mean, unless you're like a CAG dude, a Delta guy, like, there's nobody you're going to be able to learn better from than somebody like myself. Like I fucking love it. I live it. I breathe it. I deployed 7 fucking times, like all over. I've trained thousands of people all over the world, like let's get you going, but on top of that, like, let's get you fucking shredded. Like, let's get you fucking jacked. Like, let's start making you some money. Like, let's like start to incorporate everything that's beautiful about life into your life so you could fucking have purpose and greatness and contribute, because it's truly the businessman and the veteran who's going to be the ones who save this country from this current
needs to be
weird,
absolutely
woke bullshit decline that it's in. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a rant, but
no, I love it, dude. No, you're right, you're spot on. So how long have you been doing this?
Well, I got out in 2019, and I was like trying to get it like started, at the end of 2019, and then so basically like 4 years now, like 4.5 years. Yeah, I do some corporate work too. I do a lot of speaking engagements, seminars, and stuff like that. But really kicking off the Lethality University and this like coaching concept just for a couple of months now. And yeah, it's cool, man. It's like it's so cool, like to see other people apply the fundamentals and principles, and for me to hold them accountable, because I know like when they're deviating, because I've deviated myself. And
I
so
think
it's
it's cool
like,
just to see people succeed from your principles.
that's it. That's it. Yeah. And it's not even my principles, right? Like it's the universal laws. You listen to any of these billionaire dudes, like that's when I really started like catching on. I was like, I want to be a billionaire. Maybe I should start listening to billionaires.
Facts.
And then I was like, whose values do I like align with? And like Tony Robbins, Ed Millett just really happened to like catch on to me, and John Assaraf and all these other people. And they start talking Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale. They start talking about all these universal concepts, these universal laws, law of vibration. I always talk about law of attraction. It's actually law of vibration. And that has to do with like priming your brain and your mind, the reticular activating system, to actually see things worthy of opportunities that are in resonance with your vibrational frequency, which again is why physical exercise and nutrition is so important. You're not going to see positive opportunities when you're operating in a negative level. You can't get radio station 101 frequency tunes when you're operating on channel 79.9. It's an impossibility in this universe. And when you realize that it's a scientific fact, then okay, let's get yourself elevated. And like now your brain actually primes. Like, you ever want to buy a car and then you see that car everywhere?
Yeah.
That's the reticular activating system in action. It's the exact same. It's a mechanism, neural network in the brain associated with survival. Because like back in the day, we're all hungry. It's like now I'm hungry. I'm going to see berries in the bush more likely. My senses are more sharp into seeing the shit. You're in combat. It's like, oh, I see a dude in man jammas, right? Like it's you got it though. Like it's a filter in the brain. But when you're having like a bad day, you stub your toe, you're like, today fucking sucks. And then everything starts to spiral out of control in a negative way. Reticular activating system, it can work against you just as well. But so my point is that I started listening to these guys. And I was like, man, like it makes sense. And then I started just applying these fundamentals, and it's universal laws, man.
That's wild that really comes down to something in, I don't want to say as simple, but I mean, kind of basic. I mean,
you just you can't give up.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So when you say it with like law of vibration, are you talking about noticing something that you enjoy or someone doing it that's in a positive light or doing good things? Or I'm trying to understand what you mean by like, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of basic understanding this, but I don't know, try to break down the law of vibration to me so I can understand.
Absolutely, man. So everything is made up of atoms, everything. And atoms are actually more empty space than they are physical space. Like you see the old picture of like the atom with the electrons around it. That's actually not what an atom looks like. An atom looks like this little bundle of like all these different electrons and protons. Yeah, it's like, but it's mostly empty space. So you and I are mostly empty space. But the reason why we're a physical object is because the rate of vibration is operating at such a rapid and condensed pace that it creates a physical being. Now, if my hand gets shot, what happens is that force of mass, that rate of vibration is greater than what my hand exists at. And so therefore, bam, it scatters those atoms all over the place. But due to intelligent design, I got like veins and shit and bone and stuff like that. And so what the law of vibration is it's a scientific principle that says everything is in constant state of motion.
Okay.
Now, whether it's in a high vibratory state of motion, so a fast rate of motion, or a low rate of motion is going to be dependent upon that object, whatever molecules happen to come together to create said item. And so when we take that into a context of like our emotions, we have positive emotions and negative emotions. And there's like this whole chart where it's like, anger and jealousy and guilt and shame are like within like the negative vibrational frequency. And then you have like, gratitude and service are at like the highest level. It's like why when you do something good for somebody, like feels good is because, puts you in that high state of vibration, a high frequency. And so when you are generating that, frequency out into the world at a high rate of vibration, let's say you're on channel 100, what happens is people like you more. Your brain primed now, the reticular activating system, to see things that are resonant with that high rate of vibration, positivity, opportunities to make money, great relationships, beautiful things in life. You see the sunset, the glass is half full, because all of those fall into this high spectrum of vibrational frequency. Now, when you're like getting drunk and going to the bar and like hanging out with a bunch of chicks and your girlfriend cheats on you and you're like, oh, why would you do that to me? It's because you're operating and you're existing in this low state of vibration. Your energy, your demeanor, your attitude, your thoughts are negative. And so you can't be pissed off and frustrated all the time and like expect good things to happen, because your thoughts are negative, your actions and your behaviors are negative. And so your energy is going to be negative. And so you attract negative things to you because that's what you see. That's what you're creating in your world. This is where the law of attraction kind of like comes into play and gets misconstrued. You don't just sit there and like positive things come to you. You have positive thoughts, positive belief system, positive action creates a positive environment around you. Positive environment calls into it things that are resonant with that rate of vibration, that frequency. So more positive things come. Think about like some dude who's a douchebag. You don't want to like develop a relationship with that guy, but then you meet somebody who just like makes you feel like great. You're like, damn, dude, like that guy's cool. Like that right there is a pretty good illustration. And so
Gotcha.
The law of vibration is just like that scientific principle. It was like, how do you operate? How do you function? How do you think? And what do you believe? What's your paradigm? And how does that affect the world around you?
Gotcha. Okay. It's crazy that you took that and you utilized it and put it in the format that you're doing right now to be successful. It's wild. So really, I mean, honestly, what you're saying, I mean, really anyone can do it.
Anybody can, man. And that's what's crazy is like when I used to think, and this just was really recent, like the last 2 years, I used to think like, money was like evil, right? But then I was like, listening to these billionaire stories, dude. And like most billionaires, Ray Dalio and like, again, like Robbins and, like Carl Icahn and even Warren Buffett, like these dudes are self-made. Like they didn't come from fucking trust funds. Like they even know like these dudes literally were once as broke as me. And they are now worth billions. A million seconds is 11 and a half days. A million seconds. You know how many days a billion seconds is?
How many?
32 and a half years.
What?
That's the difference.
Damn, I didn't realize it was that big of a disparity.
Neither had I. But as I'm like listening to these people talk, man, I'm like, dude, these like, I'm not an idiot. I was like shooting up heroin when I was 16 years old in the streets of fucking Chicago, slipping on piss-stained mattresses and shit. Like I lost 9 friends to overdoses before I even fucking joined the Marine Corps. Like I know that they're speaking truth. Like, I've been all over the world, 40 plus fucking countries, like 3 fucking different combat zones. I'm like, these dudes are speaking truth. And then like, I start like looking more into them and I'm like, dude, these billionaire guys aren't evil. These billionaire dudes are like hardworking, good people, philanthropists. How can you give something that you do not possess? How am I going to be able to like stop human trafficking if I got no money to give? How am I going to be able to, help veterans get off pain meds? Lost my fucking brother, my best friend in the world. Reason I joined the Marine Corps, he's dead now because of fucking pain pills. And it's like, I can't help other people like him when I'm broke and fucking like depressed and shit myself. So how do you make a difference in this world? Well, it always starts with yourself, your own paradigm, belief systems, your habits, behaviors, but then you got to make some fucking money. And then you can provide the greatest opportunities for your family. You can live a beautiful life. and you could make serious fucking change in the world. And so
Absolutely.
anybody could do it. Anybody could do it, especially veterans. I truly believe that.
That's badass, man. I'm super pumped to see what you're doing is catch some traction too, man. Hopefully, I mean, what's the goal? Is the goal to just, do this on a bigger platform and, ultimately give opportunities to people around you and veterans in general?
Yeah. So, the concept with the Lethality University is, I always want to be able to, all this means nothing if you can't defend it. And so with like the Home Defender series, we got I teamed up with, I don't know if you know who Brad Lee is from Dropping Bombs podcast, Lightspeed
Nope.
VT. So Brad Lee, he created like the first interactive online training platform. It's not just like videos and shit. It's like you get data, you create customized course stuff. So I teamed up with his people out in Vegas, and we're launching this Home Defender series. It's literally everything I do to protect my home and my family against invasion. And so I want to be able to give people the skills of like, great justified violence, like when necessary. And I also think the only way to fucking stop a bully is to punch him in the fucking mouth. And I think the only way to stop a rapist is to shoot him in the fucking face.
Yep.
And so the more people that know how to do that, then the less bullies and the less rapists there will be. And so it's kind of like, like the main, stream. On top of that, yeah, it's weekly. We meet with the group. We talk about everything that we've mentioned here today. I give people like these plans, customized plans, and how accountable we meet every week. And I just want to be able to do this to as many people as I possibly can. Get as many people in the group as possible, whether you're a veteran or not. Network with people, like grow opportunities, build businesses and connections and shit. Plus I'm like a licensed firearms dealer. I love like giving like, great. I don't make any money off gun sales. I don't make any money off ammo sales. I give it to everybody wholesale value price, fucking right out the door.
Good friend to have.
Like it's just about me trying to buy another universal law that I love is the law of reciprocity. And when you just provide as much value as possible to people, it comes back to you. That's my goal with this whole thing, man, is I want to just create like a whole fucking nation, like an army of people who are just like equipped with like discipline and confidence and positive mindsets and belief systems. And then ultimately the capable of looking out for one another, because like, those capable of great lethality are capable of preserving great peace. And if everybody's capable of doing that, fuck, man, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dope stuff, man. Coming on the pod, Joe. I mean, that's some dope stuff that you're spitting right now, and I'd love to stay in check with you as you go on your journey, man.
Hit me up anytime, brother.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, everybody. Hard to Kill, episode 97. Joe Malone. Check it out. Robert.
See ya.